Hello, Internet Land. This is Christian. That's Cory. This is the Powerful NerdCast, and this is episode 101. We are in the triple digits, Cory.
That's right.
And we are here to talk about many things today. Some of our new favorite Netflix shows, obviously One Piece, and who knows, whatever else happens to pop into our ADD-ridden minds.
That's right. But let's go ahead and talk about some of these brand new shows we've been watching, one of which you introduced to me this week. Of course, we're still in the middle of the whole pandemic that's going on right now, so a lot of us are staying home and watching shows, and you just had to introduce me to this new show this week.
Yep.
And I want you to go ahead and just talk about it, what it's called, what it's all about, and why you seem to like this show, because I'm going to give my thoughts right after that.
Okay, Cory just waiting for me to say good things, and then he's going to say no. So essentially, I really like the show The Midnight Gospel, hosted by Duncan Trussell. I think he's also a producer. He got together with the production company or the animation company that did Adventure Time. So it has kind of this Adventure Time kind of feel to it visually. It's a show about, here we go, guys, follow along because I'm literally describing it, even though it sounds like nonsense. It's a show about a guy that does simulation farming. So he will pick random worlds to simulate, and then he will go there and interview people. He will fly through space, or he will fire his mind through this simulator into space, and he will land after picking an avatar and then interview people. But what's really happening is he's having these deep conversations with very well-read people like authors or doctors or people that are pretty dialed in on their different fields. You know, I don't know their qualifications, so I don't really want to speak to that, but I'm assuming they're well-read people that enjoy talking about deep things like death, love, fear, anger, and they really do this fun thing where they set these deep conversations that are essentially podcasts to these ridiculous backgrounds that aren't necessarily related. The very first episode is Dr. Drew. I think we all know him from Loveline, and he has a bunch of podcasts out there now. And it was Duncan Trussell, which the character's name in the show is Clancy, and he's essentially a farmer that wears a wizard hat that... Anyway, that doesn't matter. What does matter is he goes to a world while it is being destroyed by zombies, and he happens to pick the president to interview, and the president is killing all the zombies and trying to save the United States while they're having an in-depth conversation about drugs and what drugs are bad versus what drugs are good. And it's just a really fun, deep conversation, and I think it takes these big... sometimes like hippie-ized concepts, and it bites it down into like a 20-minute episode where you can actually get your head around it and at the same time be visually interested. I don't even want to talk about the criticism because I'm sure Cory's going to do that in beautiful fashion. But what I'm going to say is that the Midnight Gospel, you owe it to yourself to at least watch the very first episode, because I've watched almost all of them. I'm excited about the last episode because in the last episode, Duncan, or in the show, his character's named Clancy, interviews his mom about 3 weeks before she passes away. So I'm thinking that they set this to a beautiful thing about accepting death and passing on and doing the next stage of your life, whatever that may be, heaven, hell, reincarnation, nothing. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen that episode. But the point is they take these really beautiful, deep, sometimes over-philosophized topics, and they turn them into fun cartoons that are digestible, that are obviously meant for adults, because there is cursing and things, but it's just this fantastical world. And you also get to see the flaws of Clancy throughout the whole thing. You know, you get to see what kind of a character he is. You get to see how he doesn't take care of his simulator because all he cares about is going on next simulation. So he has to rub it down with green goo that he steals from his neighbor that also runs a simulation farm. There is a lot of weirdness. They also go through time warps. Dude, the last episode I watched, it was great because they went through time warps. And you know that show, I think it was, or movie, it was Evolution. It had, it was that weird fractal like fog you had to walk into, and it would warp everyone's DNA when you went in. Do you remember that movie?
Vaguely.
Evolution. And it had not Kirsten Dunst. It had the other actress that's from Star Wars. She played the princess that Anakin fell in love with.
Yeah. I know what you're talking. When you're saying, I know what you're talking about. I don't think it's called evolution, but I know what you're.
Yeah. Well,
I know the movie.
in that
was
movie,
it the movie with the freaky bear attack?
Yes. In that movie,
That's all
you
I
go
ever
into
hear.
this place that bends time and space, and each cloud will do different things to you. So in the show, they kind of riff off that, and the guy's like, "Yeah, go over here. Just don't touch any of these clouds. Oh, the red ones will make you immediately burst into flames. The blue ones will revert you back into a fetus because they reverse times." And they he names like 15 different clouds that do different like psychedelic things to your mind and body, and then Clancy is just like, "Oh, that's cool," and it's all this great. It's a great episode where he has to learn how to repair his simulator because he's been avoiding all the maintenance, and it's a fucking metaphor for avoiding your body or avoiding like your life and avoiding your problems. The whole show is very much a visual metaphor for what they're talking about at all times. I enjoy the show. I didn't binge it because I was like, this is too deep to try to take in these topics one after another. I'll just lose the whole point of it. I'm also a huge fan of Duncan Trussell. The guy has a great podcast. I think it's called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. He also is a guest on Joe Rogan all the time. I've literally listened to every episode he's ever been a guest on Joe Rogan before. So when I heard he had a show, I'm a big fan, and I think as a fan, I should tell you guys to check it out. Cory, now that I've talked about how the show's going to be about his mom giving her last wishes, and it's a beautiful thing, why don't you go shit all over it?
That was a terrible way to segue over to me. First and foremost, I love your glowing endorsement. It's always really fun when I see you get passionate about a show that's really strange. And I need to stress, I don't hate the Midnight Gospel. The problem was you showed me an episode like kind of right in the middle of the season, and I feel like maybe you should have shown me the first episode.
I should have. It has. It's all meant to build on each other.
Yeah, exactly. Now again, I'm not sure if there is an actual form of continuity with the Midnight Gospel, or if it's every episode is just kind of like its own standalone thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that first episode, introduces you to the concepts of the show a little bit more, like what it means to be a simulation farmer and all that stuff. By the way, I loved your description as like his neighbor's a simulation farmer and he hates him.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's really funny to me.
They because they're just sorry to jump back in, but his neighbor is also doing what Clancy's doing, which is technically illegal. You're not supposed to go into simulated worlds and steal artifacts.
Okay.
And that's what the neighbor's doing too. And so they're both sort of like doing illegal shit.
Okay. Well, first things first. I'm an animation fan. I love surrealistic animation. I've always been a fan of a lot of this stuff on Adult Swim. One of my favorite shows on Adult Swim, and this is kind of a weird comparison, mostly due to the animation style. The character design is Adventure Time, but the overall execution is more Super Jail.
Okay.
In terms of the way that like the characters move and the way the world
chunky.
Operates.
Yeah, it's chunky movement.
Chunky, fractal, and extremely violent at times for absolutely no reason. Sometimes kind of overly sexual and strange. But it was just it was a weird show getting into because I didn't know what it was going to be. When you described it as sort of like this Adventure Time like show, I expected there to be more of a narrative, more of like there's lore to this story. And while there is some of that stuff there, it's definitely not that. It is most definitely just two people talking.
It's a podcast.
Like a podcast, and they sort of animate around that, and then occasionally maybe add in some lines which add to the story that they're trying to tell in that episode.
Yes.
Like, the entire episode that we were watching, like, it was basically about Clancy having a conversation with this warrior woman about what it truly means to basically reach out and to accept people. And
to listen.
And to listen to people.
Yes.
And to, not make it all about yourself. And it was a really interesting conversation, but with everything going on, I mean, I guess that's kind of the entire gimmick of the show, is that it's just an assault on your senses, not only on what you're thinking about the conversation, what you're trying to analyze, but just the visual overload of the show. Just like, it just takes you over while you're watching it. It's... it has that Adventure Time look in some senses.
Yes.
And for that, I definitely applaud it. It's unique, and it's unlike anything that I've ever seen before. But again, I feel like if I'm going to give the show another chance, I got to start from the beginning.
Watch the first episode, yeah. The first episode, to me, is the most complete, captured, like, feeling of it.
Yeah.
And everyone loves zombies. So it's kind of a fun episode. And Dr. Drew is a guy I think a lot of people know, so hearing his voice is like familiar. And it's an interesting conversation about what drugs are good. And Dr. Drew's stance on no drugs are good. It's all about the conditions you take them in. Because you could take like a muscle relaxer when you need it after surgery versus you take it when you're partying, and it's the same drug, but it's a people's problem.
I'm really curious about the creative process of the show.
Yeah.
Like, you said that it's basically based on Duncan Trussell's podcast.
The Family Hour, yeah.
Did they basically take an already existing podcast and animate around it? Or
I don't
do
think
they
so.
actually, like, they bring someone in, hey, we're going to have this conversation.
Yes.
And then we're going to somehow weave a story into it.
I think they hire the guest, like let's say a writer that can talk eloquently about death, life, forgiveness, whatever the topic is, meditation, and they just have Duncan, who's a host of a podcast, kind of like weave some answers out of them. And I'm sure they have a narrative that they're going to say, hey, while we're here, we're going to be on top of a mountain and we're going to be getting attacked by a chicken, and we're going to mention it from time to time, but really we're just here to talk about meditation.
Okay. No, it's honestly because that's what that episode was like.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole episode, it's these two characters just having a normal conversation, riding on an ethereal horse with all this crazy shit just going on around them, and they almost never address the weird stuff unless it starts to get kind of in the way of the story. But yeah, it's interesting. I need to give the show another chance.
Give another chance. Watch the first episode.
I love surrealistic animation. Like I said, Adult Swim type material, and
it feels like kind of a stoner show too. I'm not going to like hide that from people. It's definitely
the
like
release date was
4/20.
4/20. So
the show is like I can imagine someone stoned out of their mind watching this show. It would make your parents think you do smoke weed if you showed them the show. Like that's what it is. All that, but there's also some like most things. If you look deep enough, there's some benefit.
I will say this. I thought the show was going to be, and I need to stress, while I didn't necessarily enjoy the show, I don't hate it.
Yes.
I don't hate the show. And I thought it was going to be terrible because initially when I saw the first previews for the show, my first thought was, this is just going to be a raunchy, R-rated Adventure Time, which is just an excuse for tit and fart jokes.
Yeah.
And while some of those elements are indeed there,
yes,
it's not really what the entire show is all about. It really is all about those conversations that Duncan Trussell has with his guests. And if anything, I'll give it it's a unique kind of premise. And this is going to be a weird comparison. I don't even know if you even remember this show from back in the day.
Zoobly Zoo?
Not Zoobly. Why do we bring up Zoobly Zoo so much?
No idea.
By the way, Meat Canyon, if you're watching this video, please make a Zoobly Zoo video.
Yeah, it would be great.
Anywho, there was this show on Comedy Central back in the mid-'90s when they first started to become big, right before South Park came out. It was a show called Dr. Katz.
Don't remember.
All right, well, the entire point of Dr. Katz is that it was sort of this show about this character whose name was Dr. Katz. He was a therapist, and he would have comedians on his show, and they would come into his office, and they would have a conversation, and basically it was just the comedians doing like a bit.
Yes.
While they were sitting like on the couch talking to the therapist.
Yes.
And then they would animate around it and kind of do something similar. Now, of course, it wasn't as anything as surreal as say what's going on here. It was quite literally just two people in an office talking, but they would animate it and they would sort of like use that like that conversation to make an episode of something. And then that's kind of the vibe that I actually got from this, despite the fact that, again, it's way more surrealistic and crazy. And, as a fan of animation, I still like that part of it. I mean, it's just, for the eyes, it is a visual feast. And, it's funny.
It's funny, and it's just an interesting, I think it's the hybridization of podcasting, because podcasting is getting so big. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how do we take this format and do something with it? And I also think I'm pretty excited that Netflix decided to do it and not like Adult Swim, because Adult Swim has a habit of like doing a show and then never making more. If this goes well, like you could totally see Netflix renewing more seasons. Mm-hmm. I bet it takes forever to animate the show, though. I mean, even if they approve another season right now, like it would be another year or two before you saw another episode.
I'm curious as to how they animate it, even like what sort of it's like I said, it's when we were watching it, I even mentioned it's got kind of like this low frame rate kind of style.
Yeah, it's like a 10 to 12 or 15 frames a second instead of your 24 that you're used to. Yeah,
which
it's very
honestly,
chunky.
Maybe it's just me, but is that kind of style coming back in animation where choppy is good? You know?
I think if it's artistically done well, it doesn't really matter. You know, if it's purpose driven and it's a stylistic choice that's held throughout the show, it's fine. You know,
it's kind of like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's almost got this sort of like stop motion kind of feel to it.
Oh, they did that on purpose because towards the end of the film, the chunkiness is gone because as Miles Morales is learning his spider powers, that disappears throughout the movie. I don't know. I saw someone review the movie and point that out, and I was like, "Oh, they like the chunkiness disappears as he gets better at being Spider-Man."
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Weird. I'm gonna have to check that again. Again, though, I don't know. Maybe it's just that style is sort of coming back in a sense. But again, like you said, it lends itself to that artistry when they try to make it look that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it unique. It makes it memorable, if anything. I mean, I'm never going to forget watching that episode.
And Corey isn't a huge fan of the show yet, and I'm not saying it's my favorite thing on Netflix right now. It's just what I'm happen to be watching right now. I even got into a conversation with a guy on Facebook about it the other day, and I was like, "Wow, people are watching this thing."
Yeah,
So
Netflix has been blwn up over the last couple of years with their animation projects. And this is definitely a step in a crazy direction, but
you just
I like
reviewed
it because it's experimental.
You just reviewed the Zootopia show,
Exactly. Well, I mean, but still, that's a Japanese anime still, though.
But isn't it Netflix exclusive? I'm just saying it lends to their library.
They call it Netflix exclusive, but I mean, a lot of these shows that are Netflix exclusives are shows that also just air on Japanese TV.
Oh, and
Netflix gets the license
for the American audience.
Exactly.
Probably.
Now they do, of course, have some programming that they put exclusively on the platform.
Yeah.
But again, it's Netflix, but not really. It's weird. But still, it's a Japanese anime. But I mean, and this is
Natalie Portman was her name.
Natalie
now
Portman
I remember
from the movie with the bear alien. Thing.
Yeah, the bear alien.
I know what movie you're talking about, but I forgot.
I think it's called Evolution.
When I hear Evolution, I think of the goofy Ivan Reitman movie from like 1999.
Oh, with the smile with the 3 eyeballs.
Yes.
And then Stifler gets into a gunfight with the aliens in the mall.
It's funny. That sounds crazy. That's a perfect description of exactly what happens.
And that guy from the Sprite commercials, that was his last thing before he disappeared.
7-Up.
7-Up, whatever. You get the idea.
We remember you, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're out there.
And of course, David Duchovny.
Yes.
Who could forget David Duchovny? But yeah, not that Evolution. God, I want to know what movie you're talking. Maybe it is called Evolution.
I don't know. Maybe it's something. It's got Oscar Isaac in it.
It does?
Yeah, he's the husband that she goes into the goo to find.
Well,
I watched a review on the movie. I know this twist and
I've
everything.
only watched literally. A friend of mine was telling me about it. He's like, "You got to check this movie out." I just went to YouTube. I'm like, bear attack alien scene. And I'm like, this is gnarly as shit right here. This looks crazy. Not the best CGI I've ever seen, but still kind of interesting.
That shows it's very metaphorical because the alien essentially represents us. It represents what it's reflecting, So,
someone animate around this and make it.
It's
a episode of the Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, essentially, at the end of the movie, I'm just going to ruin it. A giant mirrored version of her comes out, and then she can't get away from it because it does her moves, and then she puts her hand near fire, and it grabs the fire, and it tries to replicate the fire. And then it kills itself because it doesn't understand what fire is. And then she gets out, but she's all fucked up from the goo. Because it fucked her DNA all up. And then her husband, she thought she was going to send back and rescue, was actually a clone that was sent out by the goo earlier. And her husband died in the goo. It's weird. It's a weird-ass movie. And it's mostly a big
Sure
metaphor.
It's not called The Goo?
I'm just making up names here. The fractal time-altering DNA substance. Is that a better term? I don't know.
That's amazing. Well, if anything, I am more interested in checking out the Midnight Gospel. If I decide to watch it again, I'm definitely starting from episode 1.
I picked a random episode and showed it to you. That was probably my fault. I should have picked one that I knew was good, but I was being selfish. I didn't want to watch the same one again. So, that's the truth.
Lunch was good. That's all right.
That's right.
Anywho, but Midnight Gospel, if any of you guys actually watched it, sound off in the comments section if you like it, if you don't like it. What sort of other interesting animation would you recommend checking out on Netflix? Now, I haven't been watching any new Netflix animation, but I have been going back to Disney Plus.
Okay.
Because I feel I need to justify, using the platform outside of just watching The Mandalorian. And again, I'm just continuing to use the platform for more Star Wars stuff. I started going back to Clone Wars, which I know you're not a super huge Star Wars fan. I think the thing that you mostly got attached to probably was The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian's by far my favorite Star Wars IP.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not watched the animated series, but I have enjoyed watching the fights on YouTube, so I think that they're probably pretty cool.
They are cool, and most recently we've been getting into the final season of Clone Wars, which, a couple years ago the entire series got canceled. It was done, and we never really got a true definitive ending to what the series could give us. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we know in the story where it's going to go because, of course, it's connected to the films, the prequel trilogy, and the end of Revenge of the Sith, the whole Order 66 ordeal where all the Jedi are killed. And this season is really interesting because it's actually leading directly into that and running concurrently with that story. I might eventually do a full review on the entire season. I will go ahead and say that I think, and this is not exactly a glowing endorsement, I think the first 8 episodes are really boring and don't really do that much in terms of adding too much to what the final story is going to offer. But the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars, and we still have 2 more to go, are really interesting.
You should really review just those 2 episodes.
I mean, they're great. Everybody and their mom has already talked about it, but again, what's really unique is, again, like I said, it's running concurrently with Revenge of the Sith. In fact, once we got to episode, I believe it was 9 and 10, the actual credits are different. Like, they use the old Star Wars music for the intro. The color of the logo changes from yellow to red to kind of mimic Revenge of the Sith. And everything that's going on in these 2 stories is everything that is happening exactly at the same time as Revenge of the Sith, just stuff that we never actually see.
Okay.
And it is the best material that I have seen from Star Wars, aside from The Mandalorian, in a long time. Episodes 9 and 10 of Season 7 of Clone Wars gave me more emotional depth and satisfaction than the entirety of the brand new sequel trilogy.
Okay.
And considering that it's a prequel story where I know the outcome and the fate of many of the characters, and yet I'm still on the edge of my seat the entire time, I think is a massive accomplishment.
Sounds like good storytelling, yeah.
It is. And if you're even a fan of The Mandalorian, I recommend checking it out because, again, you'll get to dive a little deeper into the sort of the lore and the history of the Mandalorians themselves.
You'll really remove the mask on that.
You will.
The helmet.
Which, again, is kind of funny because in The Mandalorian, a part of the entire culture of Mando's group is that they don't like to take off their helmets. But everything that's going on right now in Clone Wars, like they don't have a problem doing that.
Oh, it's a sect of the Mandalorians did that.
And apparently Mando's group is like really hardcore. But these people are a little different. But it's awesome because it's showing us this big battle, which was always talked about, but we never got to see, called the Siege of Mandalore, which is basically all about this clone troopers group, which is being led by Anakin's old apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, going to this planet and just going to war with the Mandalorians and trying to find Darth Maul. Because in the current storyline, Maul is actually the leader of the Mandalorians on that planet.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Of course, Darth Maul has been one of the most developed characters in all of Star Wars, despite the fact that he was seemingly killed in Episode 1. But thanks to Clone Wars and Rebels and even having a small appearance at the end of Solo, they've completely transformed this character into one of the, I dare say, best Star Wars characters ever created. And these episodes right here, again, are just blowing me away with their quality because, like I said, you know what's going to happen. You know what this is leading to, and that's what makes it so tense. Like, you're waiting for Order 66 to happen. You know what's going to happen. Maul knows it's going to happen, and he wants to stop it. That's what I think is so fascinating about this character, who originally was a non-speaking, basically Goomba of the main villain of the entire freaking series. And they've transformed him into this character that knows everything that's going on, has reached the end of his rope, and is desperate to even help out the hero characters,
the Jedi,
to stop this event from happening. And it's done in what might be the most cinematic way that I've ever seen. You put these movies together, or these episodes together, like I said, it's almost a movie.
Yeah.
Like, it works that well. You can literally watch these. If somebody can find a way, when this entire season ends, to take Revenge of the Sith in these episodes, and even though they're stylistically different, one being live action and one being animated, put them together and make them a single story.
Oh, cool. Like cut between the scenes.
Yes,
yeah,
because
okay.
that would be incredible. It works.
Don't give Disney ideas, Corey.
They're gonna do it. It almost makes me, I'm watching the show, and my first thought is, I almost kind of wish they never made the prequel trilogy, and they just made an entire series all about it. Because it would have been consistent with this style, and they could have gone back and forth to do all of these events. I don't think they're going to show us events that we've already seen. They're focusing on things that we haven't seen before.
But heard about.
And haven't heard of. But it is so atmospherically perfect. And like I said, whoever's doing the voice of Darth Maul, I think the actor's name is Sam Witwer, dude's fucking killing it. Like, he's doing such a great job. It's the best voice acting I've heard from the show. The style is the best that I've ever heard. And like I said, when I'm watching it, I'm like, there's this constant feeling of tension because you're like, you know, you're waiting for the clone troopers to bust in the room and just start killing everybody.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen. Ahsoka is a character that at the beginning of Clone Wars, I hated. Could not stand her character. She was a stupid, young, plucky character who was just there to appeal to the younger crowd. And again, just like Maul, they took this character who seemed like a one-off type of character you'd never see again and transformed them into one of the most interesting Star Wars characters ever. Like, Rey has absolutely fucking nothing on Ahsoka at this point, and I used to think the exact opposite of this.
Yeah.
Seeing her change and grow up in the show, especially to where she is now, it's damn near incredible. It's one of the best things that I've actually seen from Star Wars, I shit you not. And her confrontation with Maul, having this amazing fight leading up to the eventual moments where Order 66 is about to happen. Like I said, some of the best stuff that I've actually seen from Star Wars, and a great compliment piece to those movies. And even if you just want to see the action, I recommend checking it out, dude. It looks so damn good.
So I can just jump to the last 2 episodes?
I'd recommend starting episode 9 and just go from there. Right now, only ones that are available are episodes 9 and 10. You might not know, like, some of the motivation of some of the characters, but there's not that much more to know. All you need to know is that the clone troopers and Ahsoka are going after Maul on Mandalore as they're having this big civil war. Some of the people who are aligned with Maul, you know who they are because they're Mandalorians that basically wear red Mandalorian armor.
Yep.
And then there's the other group, which is mostly white and blue.
Are those the traditional Mandalorians?
Pretty much. That's the thing, though. There's like so many different types of Mandalorians. Like there's different sectors. Like you said, there's from the Mandalorian, there's his very specific group. But then there's also like the Shadow Collective. There's Death Watch.
And to be honest, they could just keep making up new ones, and you couldn't say that's wrong.
Exactly. They can keep expanding on it
Yeah.
if they really want. There's certain groups that are from a planet called Concord Dawn. Like there's so many different types of Mandalore, but the ones that are going on here, this is like the planet Mandalore. This is like the war.
I was thinking,
for control.
There's got to be an Italian name now, Don Corleone Mandalorians. You know, like.
Oh my God.
Sorry, it's not even a good joke. Just had to try.
But still, and they're also doing a good job of tying it into the Disney era of films, whether you like it or not. There's a great scene of the villain from Solo, who works under Maul, who makes an appearance in this episode, who never appeared.
The Jude Law guy?
I think that was Jude Law. He played the character. His name was Dryden Voss.
Well, yes.
He was like the leader of that group. And,
Yes.
he ended up getting killed. And that's when, at the end of that movie, you learn that, of course, that Maul is the true, like, leader of that group.
Yeah.
Leading in the shadows as that guy acts like sort of as the leader via proxy.
Yeah.
Which is what he does on Mandalore as well. Like, he's not actually in the public eye of people.
The Lale Lule Lo.
Exactly. He's the Molly Lulelo. And that's what he does. And like I said, you just got to watch it. And my favorite moment was in the last episode when it ends, because it's like this big battle between Ahsoka and Maul. And Maul is like trying to get Ahsoka to work with him. And it's the whole like join me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's like, if we team up, we can stop this from happening. We can stop Order 66. We can stop Sidious, and we can even stop Anakin Skywalker. When he says that, of course, Ahsoka decides not to work with him.
Because she doesn't believe him?
She doesn't believe him at all.
Yeah.
Maul knows what's going to happen. He knows that he's being prepped to be like the next apprentice of Sidious. And they have this epic, amazing lightsaber battle, which was done with mocap, which
is obvious. I bet it looks great.
It looks. When I watched it, I was like, this is like really fluid, more so than some of the previous episodes. And I looked it up. They actually brought back Ray Park, who was the stunt guy who actually played Darth Maul in
the
Phantom
Toad
Menace,
in the original,
and Toad in X-Men, and a bunch of other movies as well.
Yeah.
And they brought him in, and they actually did like a mocap fight for the first time in the series, and it looks so damn good the entire time. And it leads to this great moment where they're both like at the edge. They're about to kill each other. Maul loses, and he ends up getting captured by the clone troopers. And then when he gets captured, he just flips out. He just like starts screaming. He's like, "You're all going to burn. We're all going to die."
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so much emotion behind it. And you're like, oh my God, it's going to happen right now, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then the episode just cuts to black. And that combined with the animation, the voice acting, and the amazing music, which they're doing, this is how Star Wars is supposed to be. A little over-dramatic, really great, classic sci-fi action. And
in space.
Man, it's great, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, it sounds
totally
good.
loving
You got me pumped.
I know.
If you're going to watch Midnight Gospel, I'll try this.
Yes, please do. I know, like I said, I know you're a casual Star Wars guy. I think it's the non-Skywalker stuff that you always tend to like the most.
Yeah.
And while this is kind of tied to that, it's also not at the same time. It's kind of its own thing, too.
It's its own branch. Yeah, that's for
Exactly.
sure. That's for sure.
I'm loving it. Are any of you guys checking out the final season of Clone Wars? Are you digging it? Are you not digging it? Like I said, I thought the first 8 episodes kind of sucked. After that, though, I'm getting pumped up just talking about it. Like, I really, really enjoyed that stuff that much. I watched it, like, the first couple episodes, I watched, like, one a day. Once I got to episode 9, I immediately watched the one right after, and I was like, damn it, there's no more. I have to keep waiting. Because that's the way Disney Plus is doing things.
Oh, they want you to stay subscribed.
One episode a week, man. That's how they handle things. The next episode comes out on Friday. and I can't wait to see, because the implication in apparently the preview says Order 66 is happening. I can't wait to see how it's actually gonna to go in that show, and how they're gonna show it from a different perspective. So hell yes, I'm excited for that.
It's gonna be awesome.
It is. But you know what's really awesome?
Tell me.
The latest chapter of One Piece. That's right. This was a great chapter because it surprised me. One of the things we complain about a lot when it comes to One Piece is the introduction of new characters.
Yes.
And Wano Kingdom has just been pouring that shit on. They just will not stop with the new characters. They just want to keep introducing them and showing how wacky Oda's character designs can be. But I'm really excited because now we're formally introduced to the Robi Topo, who are basically the 6 most powerful warriors in the headliners of the Beast Pirates. And
Yes.
we've already seen 2 of them before, X-Drake and Page 1. Now we get to see the other 4 members, and I think they're pretty awesome from what we've seen so far. So we're just going to talk about them and some of the other big events of this chapter. The biggest one, of course, is that Luffy and everybody have finally arrived at Onigashima. We get to see it up close for the very first time, and again, just like the rest of the Wano Kingdom, it looks awesome. I love the design of that entrance.
That island is so different than Wano, even though it's the next door neighbor to it. I kept thinking that Wano was going to be the backdrop. Not, of course I knew it wasn't, but I just was so kind of committed to Wano being the backdrop. And then when they got here, I was like, oh, wow, they're actually going to fight on this giant thunderstorm island with this big skull, like Kaido's island. And it just sort of makes sense. It also, to me, was kind of sad because I realized there might not be as many samurai as I thought. Obviously, on the good guy side, there will be. But it's mostly going to be the Beast Pirate outfits. Mm-hmm. And they've been blended together a lot. Like, you've seen the Beast Pirates next to the samurai a lot. But now that's sort of different. Mm-hmm. Like, that they're not going to be around as much. So it's kind of interesting that they're going that way.
You're definitely going to see a lot of the Beast Pirates now because Kinemon is using his Devil Fruit ability to give everybody brand new costumes.
That's right.
They're all going to be wearing the outfits of the Beast Pirates.
They're kind of going to hide in plain sight, know? And until they get super damaged or other things, there was a few stipulations, maybe we'll find out if they get water poured on them or something, they'll change back. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's something there. But it looked like a really great chapter. I was excited to see the new bad guys and all their like character designs. And there's that one woman who's really huge.
Let's just go ahead and kind of break down each of the brand new characters here. So let's talk about her first.
Yeah.
The massive woman who goes by the name of Black Maria. She's basically a giant.
Yes.
Or maybe just a very large woman of some kind. But I can't really talk much about her character outside of the fact that she's probably really scary and will kill you with death by snoo snoo. But like, she just looks really cool. They all have a theme of having like, the horns on their head and everything. But yeah, again, it's not really anything new seeing like a giant character like that, especially because a lot of the members of Kaido's crew are just disproportionate monsters in and of themselves. But what's interesting about her is that she looks kind of like or at least as normal as a One Piece character can get, just really tall.
She also might not be normal though. She might have like a horse bottom or something because you haven't really seen her.
We haven't seen yet. Like,
she might be half llama or something.
Black Maria, the half llama.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a little fun fact too. And it's not going to be immediately apparent. Pretty much every single member of the Toby Ropo, their name is a pun on some sort of card game.
Oh, I didn't get that.
It is. I had to look up this information personally. But yeah, a lot of these games, of course, are, they're not here in America, but they exist in other places. Black Maria is a card game. But moving on from her, we have another new member who has a ridiculous name as Who's who is this guy who kind of looks like he's wearing like this like black metal helmet.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He has almost like goggle-looking eyes, and again, not much to say about his character other than that he's just loud and super boisterous. And again, it's hard to infer what these characters are actually going to do, what their powers are going to be. My hope, of course, is they're going to continue the theme of all being dinosaur-based.
That'd be cool.
Or like prehistoric animal-based.
Yep.
I just think that would be really awesome to go along with the other all-star members as well.
So you think they're all going to be legendary Zohan? Zohan? No, what do they call it? Legendary Zone type? Yeah. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I just think that would be really... Because we already know that,
Kaido likes those type of Devil Fruit users.
He does.
Yeah.
And all of the all-stars, you have a pterodactyl, you have the brachiosaurus, and of course you have Jack the Mammoth. But then we've already seen, X-Drake is an Allosaurus, Page 1 is a Spinosaurus. So I'm really hoping that some of these other guys are going to transform into some sort of dinosaur. I think that would just be so awesome and really unique. And again, just one of those memorable things that looking back on One Piece, you're going to be like, you remember that one arc with the samurai and the dinosaurs? Like, that's the way I like to look back on like certain arcs of One Piece, and I would just love to see that happen. So yeah, that's who's wearing the weird mask. The most talkative member of the group is probably this female who goes by the name of Ulti, who, again, a lot of them are trying to keep mysterious. They're all wearing masks or something on their face to sort of like make us not see them, perfectly. And again, one of the quirks of her character is that she comes across very rough and pissed off all the time, but at the same time has a childish, playful side. She refers to Page 1 as Pepe.
There we go.
Don't know why. It's just a thing she does. It is interesting that Page 1 has kind of like a new outfit. When we saw him earlier, it was mostly him in his transformed state, I believe, when he was battling against Sanji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got his butt kicked towards the end, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
By the way, I've kind of taken your route recently on One Piece and the anime. Like, I haven't really been watching it consistently, but I've been watching a lot of the action scenes.
Yeah, just the fights.
Sanji's fight with Page 1 was awesome.
I have so many conflicted feelings about Sanji now, because him needing a suit to be powerful enough to compete.
He doesn't need it.
Oh, he did. He needed it. Anyway,
it looks cool, though.
It does look cool, and it's a cool transformation, and all the characters are getting their end game setups.
Yeah.
Zoro's getting Enma, right? Is that the name of that sword?
The sword.
That sword may not be used to kill Kaido, but it's definitely going to get Zoro end game ready for the rest of the series. Yeah. Sanji gets the suit. That's his end game thing. And then Nami gets the Zeus.
I guess she's going to keep the cloud.
She's keeping, she already told the cloud she's keeping it. That's what I'm saying. They're getting these characters end game ready. So that's really what's going on. But I was like, kind of like, ooh, Sanji didn't need a devil fruit, but he needs a fucking suit. And so I was a little sad about that. But at the same time, that's his family, and it's him sort of accepting his family. It's a metaphor. I'm just going to say it's a metaphor a lot today. But it is a metaphor on him being accepted and realizing his family may be assassins, but they're not that bad. Yes, they are.
Even though they're terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible people.
Killed thousands of people.
But their gift to him was one of the suits that makes you strong. And
we've only seen it once so far. So, like I said, he may not use it again.
Bullshit.
But we probably will see it again.
Yeah, he's going to use it again.
Especially, like I said, that fight with Page 1, I liked it in the manga. I liked it a lot more in the anime version, which
Way
I rarely
better.
say.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because the Wano Kingdom arc looks so damn good.
They are animating the bejesus out of it, yeah.
I did a little research on that as well. You know why it also looks so good?
Why?
The creative team that's working on it, and I believe the animation director is the guy who made the Broly movie.
That makes total sense. It has it does have that feel, that fluidity, and the way they use the black lines, very similar. Yeah.
And I love the color that they're using for it. But getting back on track, so we've gone through Black Maria, Ulti, and Who's Who. But there's one other member that we haven't seen before, which is Sasaki, who is just a giant, creepy-looking ogre man.
Yes.
At first, when I saw him, I thought he was like a fish man, just because they always kind of have that kind of weird, giant, oversized head appearance with massive teeth. But then again, this is the Beast Pirates. They're a bunch of monsters all the time anyway. So
it's true.
Again, there's not much we can infer. This chapter is basically just an excuse to introduce these characters and show them for the first time. The last chapter was them walking in. This is them sitting down. That's basically what this entire chapter is. That, and of course, showing Luffy and his group arriving, and also letting us know that the samurai are hardcore about this plan.
Oh, them destroying all their ships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was really cool, but at the same time, man, that is risky as hell. But it's also ballsy, because it's like, look, we're going to win, and we're going to take this island for ourselves.
Yeah.
This is ours now.
Yeah.
And I think that's really...
And it also means defeat's not an option. Defeat is death.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, nope, we went back through time to do this, and now we're here to do it, and it's either working or it isn't, and it's happening now. And then, it's kind of funny when Chopper's like, what about the Sunny? And they're like, no, we ain't going to let them chop up that ship. And then... Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think it's cool. I'm excited to see the battle plan actually play out a little bit. I'm excited to see how the reveal when the Kaido pirates, the Beast Pirates, realize they're under attack.
Yeah.
I hope that's next chapter, because that would speed up the progression.
Kaido's son.
Oh, yeah, I guess
the fact that they built that up in the last chapter, and of course gave us nothing on that in this chapter.
It might be someone we already see. It might, but they're not going to do it that way. They're going to reveal something big.
And really, let's face it, the Toby Robo were introduced because we want to see who everybody's going to fight. Like, all these characters are going to have a one-on-one fight with someone important in the series, whether they be Samurai or a member of the Straw Hat crew. I have a feeling Sanji's probably going to have a rematch with Page 1.
Yes.
That's probably how things are going to go between those two.
I think that's true. Who's Drake going to fight?
I don't know. And that's interesting, because Drake is still technically, like, I think a double agent.
Yeah.
Where he's still technically a Marine. but he's a member of the Beast Pirates, but now he's going to have to be going up against the Straw Hat Pirates. This is probably going to be the arc, though, where he moves away from the Beast Pirates and starts to work along with Luffy and his crew. Maybe the other supernovas as well.
Yeah,
we get to see there's a few others. There's there's Scratchman Apu,
the DJ.
Guy.
Yeah, the DJ guy.
He's a part of the crew now too. So not of his own accord, but Basil Hawkins too, the guy who does the scarecrows and the voodoo dolls.
Yes,
they're probably all eventually going to leave the Beast Pirates in this arc. Which will be interesting, and it'll be cool just to see Luffy teaming up with all these supernovas. Something that we all knew was probably going to happen, or he's at least going to have a confrontation with them. This is going to be a great excuse for him to interact with those characters again since they were introduced.
Yeah, it's cool. Obviously, this arc is going to mean a lot to the series when it's over.
I mean, Oda has been building this arc up for a long time, calling it like the greatest arc of the entire series. I don't know. Maybe we truly are moving into some sort of endgame fashion. Like after this, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, in complete possibility, we could go from this arc. Let's say Big Mom and Kaido are defeated or dealt with at the end of this arc. Then you pretty much got Sabo.
Yeah.
That got captured.
Yeah, revolutionaries.
And Sabo, and then Blackbeard, and then One Piece. So there's not that many. Oh, Shanks.
I mean, there's Shanks.
Fuck, there could be a whole Shanks arc.
Yeah. Could Shanks just show up in this arc though?
And
could that be another surprise?
Yeah, just shove that in there too. Yeah.
That way they could kind of, I don't know. I feel like Shanks deserves his own arc.
Yeah.
Because they have so much to explain a little bit more about him outside that he was a part of Roger's crew. Like, I feel like they need to devote an entire arc to that.
And he's not evil, so why would Luffy fight him?
Exactly.
Like,
there's more of a rivalry between the two.
Yeah.
A friendly rivalry.
Why does Law want to defeat him? I don't know. Law wants to, though.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't really make sense what's about to happen. So, with the Shanks.
They're all competing for One Piece, maybe. But then again,
Shanks could have gone and got One Piece.
Then again, Shanks knows what One Piece is.
And where it is.
Yeah, and he doesn't care.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, the Shanks thing doesn't make sense to me. It has to get worked out for Endgame. Yeah. But we'll see what's up.
So, otherwise, final thoughts on the chapter?
3.5 out of 5. I liked it, but not much happened.
Okay. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I'm going up a little bit one on this one.
I'll give it a 3.859. How about that?
That's pretty good, too.
There we go.
I just liked it. I loved looking at Onigashima close up. I thought it was really cool. I love the design of the place. Like you said in the last review, it reminds me a lot of the dungeons from Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah.
The Moblin.
The Moblin fortresses or Moblin castles.
Yeah, the bases and stuff. It looks kind of like that in some senses, but it still has that Japanese aesthetic.
You got to shoot the torch through the eye, and then it'll explode, and Kaido will get burnt, and you'll knock off half his damage.
Exactly. I like that Usopp did something cool by knocking out some of the soldiers with his abilities. But of course, this is a chapter that's entirely devoted to the introduction of the Toby Roppo, and they all look really cool. I just need to see them do something now. So let's see what's going to happen in the future when this big battle is about to kick off. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
And I want them to do something and someone win. It seems like every fight this arc has been just
fight and run.
Fight and run. Now I want the fight and win. Or
now
the
you know what it's like to watch any Gundam anime.
Ugh, no, that's why I don't watch it.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So for me, again, 4 out of 5. But we'd love to hear from you guys. What did you think about the latest chapter of One Piece, the formal introduction of the Toby Roppo, the big battle that's about to take place? What do you want to see? Are you excited? Sound off, comment section below, and discuss it all. And so, guys, that is pretty much the end of today's podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. We do anime reviews, we do discussions, and, of course, this amazing podcast, the Powerful NerdCast. If you guys have any topics you want us to discuss or questions for us personally, please sound off, comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button. Just do it right now. It's super easy to do. But if you really want to go the extra mile in supporting not only this podcast but the channel, please check out our Patreon, our PayPal accounts in the description box below. If you guys make a donation through Patreon, we will do an anime review of your choice. So please make sure and check that out. Christian, you got anything else for us?
No, I just appreciate the views, guys, as always. It's why we do it. We love reading the comments. We love seeing the views go up on our content. We've been doing this for a long time now, almost 8 years.
Longer? Yeah.
We started in 2011.
Technically, we started in like 2010.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys. And we don't have a fucking YouTube play button here yet. So let's get this shit together. Okay. Come on, guys. Let's get us to 100,000. But thanks so much for watching everything, guys. Please check out our links below if you want to support us. Donate $10 and make Cory review some crappy anime. It's something to do. Torture him. Thanks so much, guys, though. And until next time, the Powerful NerdCast is out. at the house bored at the house. I forget how it goes.